everyone, how you doing? James here with you for another Vinyl Finds video. This one's going to have a bit of a country flavour to it. What are we listening to? We're listening to 20 Bluegrass Originals. This is not actually a new find. I bought this last year sometime. All good fun. Yeah, I unexpectedly had a little country haul, or quite a large country haul actually. What happened was, me and my partner were going out looking for a new sofa, or a second-hand sofa, and we went to a kind of biggish charity shop, warehouse thing on the outskirts of our town, which I'd never seen before. I didn't even know it was there. It used to be a branch of PC World, and then it had miraculously changed into this big old, slightly shabby charity place, you know, full of furniture and all sorts of things. But I went in there and there was a kind of whole section full of videos, VHS tapes, cassette tapes, you know, CDs, and a fair amount of records. So I came away from that. I bought, I'll quickly show you what I got the first time I went. I got this Patsy Cline. I'm not going to talk too much about these ones, quite kind of, you know, big obvious names. This one I would have talked about, but if you go and watch Headley's latest video, which is, well, I say latest, I'm not sure when I'm going to be uploading this video, but Headley's done his part 2 of his country rock special, and in that he talks about this band. This is the Dillards, and I absolutely love this record. I'd never heard them before. It's just on Elektra, and beautiful stuff. I just loved it, and the cover is fantastic. And I must give a bit kind of credit to Headley, you know, because I mean, I know very little about country music. I'm a real kind of novice, and most of the records in this place were country records. And I was going through them and I was thinking to myself, I really wish I knew more about this genre than I do, because I was aware I didn't really know for certain what was the good stuff and what was the stuff that wasn't really worth bringing away. Having said that, I think because of watching Headley's channel and you know, I've kind of picked up on the kind of things that he shows and talks about and enjoys and likes, and I did find that I was perhaps not as much of a kind of rank beginner as maybe I had been before. And as soon as I saw this record, I kind of thought, yeah, I'm sure I've heard Headley mention this band. And there were quite a few other artists that I picked out the pile as well, which, you know, either Headley has talked about, or you just look at the records and you start to imagine, you know, once you know somebody who actually knows a genre really well, you start to think, is this the kind of thing that they would probably pick up? So thank you, Headley. I'm not trying to pretend that I am in any way up to your level in terms of, you know, understanding country music, but I did find I was able to channel my inner Headley whilst looking through some of these records, and as a result, you know, not all of the things I brought back were good, but a fair few of them were. This one I brought back on the first haul as well, Loretta. Now, Headley has actually sent me an album by her as VCLT, which I need to show at some point soon. So there was that one, and again, actually for this one and the next one as well, I need to mention Andy as well, Andy Borders, Andy's Vinyl Den, because he has spoken at length about these artists as well, and has alerted me to their quality. This is an album by Buck Owens, In the Palm of Your Hand. What a great cover that is. Like I said, I'm not going to talk too much about these records because they're quite kind of well-known artists and so on. Great album, really enjoyed it. So all 4 of those I brought back on the first visit. So I decided, it was about 2 weeks later, I had some time on my hands. It was a kind of Thursday morning when I have some time, and I just thought, I think I might pop back and have a look, and this time take a camera with me. So that's what I did. So I'll cut now and show you what happened the second time I visited this place. Okay, so somewhat confusingly, it's actually housed, this place is housed in the building that used to be PC World, which isn't anymore. It's now the Far Place Animal Rescue. So let me take you inside and show you. Books here, and then we move round. The records are kind of tucked away. Got a stack of CDs, quite a few CDs. I'm not even going to bother looking through those. A few kind of old records here. Opera 7 inches. World of music. Yeah, got a few sort of old cheapo records. Pepsi Party. Conway Twitty. See, the problem I have with country music, unlike someone like Headley, is that I really don't know what's worth picking up and what isn't. I mean, Conway Twitty I know is a country name, but would that be worth picking up? I don't know. Story. From West Side Story to Tchaikovsky. Okay, so here we have a Loretta Lynn album, so let's put that to one side. Top Country. That looks quite good fun. I'm not going to start buying country comps though, I just do not have the shelf space. Another cardboard box here. Another crate there. Oh my goodness, look at that. You know, there's a lot of crap here. A few assorted singles lying on the shelf, some without their sleeves. More LPs stacked up. Country tracks, the best of the Dillards. Oh, that might be interesting. The Dillards. I'll grab that. Pile there. Pile there. Dusty old pile there. Moving across, we have another pile here. Another box there. Essentially that's it. So I'm going to do a little bit more digging now. Don't have any high hopes particularly, but we'll see. Just discovered a drawer inside which we have many cassettes. Brian Adams, so far so good. Afraid not, Brian. You're very hidden away, mate. So this time I came away with a bigger stack. Now I'm going to go through them and I'm going to give you some biographical information, some information that I found, but I'm not going to spend too long. I might try and give you a couple of needle drops as well. I don't want this video to be too long, and it'd be good to at least try and explain something. So this one, actually, I've not done too much research on Lynn because I wasn't that keen on this record really. She had a lot of hits back in the day, but she also crossed over into the pop market, and I found this album to be quite bland really. It's just on Embassy. I'll give it another couple of listens, but it's not really at the moment edging into my to keep pile, but hey ho. These all these records, by the way, were 50p, half a book each. Next one, Hank Locklin. Now I do have a record by him already. This is on Camden. One of country music's early honky-tonk singers. A member of the Grand Ole Opry for nearly 50 years. Now this next one, a completely unknown name to me, and this is an example of what I was saying before. A record that I sensed would be good from having watched Headley's channel. I just love the cover. It's fantastic. This is Dave Dudley, George and the North Woods, and it is on the Mercury label, and it's Mercury. George Dudley, his voice reminded me, if you know the modern singer Richard Hawley, who is from Sheffield in the UK, he has a very kind of deep baritone voice, but it has a real kind of sensitivity to it, you know, very emotional voice, and that's what Dave has got going on this record in spades. He was born in Spencer, Wisconsin, and was originally a baseball player, apparently, and moved over into country music and had a lot of hits. One of his songs, 6 Days on the Road, sold over 1 million copies and earned him a gold disc. He moved to Mercury Records, and his song 6 Days on the Road was subsequently recorded by George Thorogood and the Destroyers, Steve Earle, the Flying Burrito Brothers, and Sawyer Brown. And unfortunately he died in 2003 after suffering a heart attack in his car. So Didn't end well for Dave, but this was a great record, and I'll try and do a needle drop on it.
Where they wear micro mini, she'll be there. I'm looking for the one for me. She'll know that she's the one for me somewhere. I see earthquakes and lightning. I see bad times today. Don't fool around tonight. They're bound to take your life. There's a bad moon on the rise.
Okay, next one. Again, I channeled my inner Headley when I picked this one up. This is Jimmy C. Newman, and the album is called Alligator Man, with a nice picture of an alligator on the cover. There's your man. And this one is on the great old English label Pickwick. Yeah, so Jimmy C. Newman apparently was classed as a Cajun artist, although this album doesn't particularly remind me of Cajun. Not that I know a huge amount about Cajun, but the sound of it doesn't... I think of Cajun, I think of, you know, fiddles and maybe accordions, or is that Zydeco? Anyway, he was meant to be a kind of big figure in Cajun music, and let's have a look. Signed to Dot Records in 1953. Yeah, he began to integrate his Cajun influences into his music, and he recorded the song Alligator Man, which is on this record. Needle drop.
One time, my good friend, Romantic Bordeaux, he take a trip up north, way up north to Shreveport. Said he was climbing one of them deep hills with his automobile, and he turned that thing over about 8 or 7 times right down that hill. Roman crawled himself out of that car, staggered himself around, and he take about 4 or 3 steps. Policeman walked up to him and he said, "Hey boy, you drunk?" Roman said, "Heck yeah, you don't think I'm one of them reckless drivers, eh?" And the radio, everybody talking that bio talk.
And that was a top 25 record, I think, in the country charts, and it continued to be his theme song, and eventually actually it earned him a Grammy Award in 1991. So yeah, again, I really enjoyed this record, not quite as much as the Dave Dudley one, but it was still a nice listen and a good cover. Again, a little bit like the Lynn Anderson one, it was kind of a bit disappointing, but it did have its moments. This is Chip Chip by Patti Sande, and her big hit was the song Chip Chip.
Chip, 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 you quarrel over it. One day you're gonna discover one little wrong leads to another. Chip, chip, chipping away, chipping at your mansion of love.
Now this one has got a very nasty gouge, and you have to be really careful when you play it on the turntable. Can you see this? Very nasty. If you get your stylus too near that, you could cause some damage. And unfortunately, the first track on side 2 is her big hit, Chip Chip, which means I can't play that song from the beginning. This record was a bit disappointing. Again, like the Lynn Anderson one, it kind of strays into slightly sort of bland pop territory. But she was quite well respected in her day. I'm not sure if she's still with us. I think she's one of these artists, a bit like Bobby Gentry, who's kind of, you know, vanished over the horizon. Apparently, there was one, her big claim to fame was, apart from the fact that she toured with Roy McCuff quite early in her career, apparently she appeared on, she made a British debut at London's Wembley Festival as a support member of the George Jones Tammy Wynette show. But when George Jones's mother suddenly died, the two stars had to return to the USA without appearing at the festival, and she found herself headlining the festival in their absence. So that was her kind of 5 minutes of huge fame, after which she disappeared. So yeah, Not the most wonderful record, it has its moments, but yeah. You win some and you occasionally kind of lose some. Okay, next one. Again, a name that I only knew from watching people like Headley and Andy. This is Kitty Wells on Coral, Seasons of My Heart. And this was a very, very enjoyable listen. 6th most successful female vocalist in the history of Billboard's country charts. In 1976, she was inducted into the Country Music Hall of Fame. And in 1991, she became the 3rd country music artist after Roy McCuff and Hank Williams, and the 8th woman to receive the Grammy Lifetime Achievement Awards. And that has earned her the nickname Queen of Country Music. So there we go, Kitty. And a very enjoyable record this was too. Country music, I've got to be honest, country music for me, I enjoy certain kinds of country music a lot. My favourite kind is kind of what I describe as shit kicking. I apologise for the language, but it's that kind of down low, kind of dirty, fast, hard fiddling, kind of driving stuff. I'm not so fond of the kind of slow country ballads and the kind of waltzes and the old-timey, you know, sentimental things with people being quite kind of self-pitying. I do prefer, generally I prefer it to be kind of up-tempo and kind of, you know, like that. I mean, you know, the great bluegrass bands and the western swing bands and so on could swing harder than Count Basie, you know. That's the kind of thing I really, really love. Okay, next, another totally unknown name to me, and another one that I picked up from gut feeling that it was going to be good, and it is good. This is Johnny Cava, Don't Tell That Sweet Old Lady of Mine. Now this was an interesting listen in that it was definitely heading into pop territory.
Have you seen a young, wild, long-haired, blue-eyed, looking like she can't be tamed? Threatening your house in a see-through blouse in the rain. If you ain't never seen a change in the weather in the middle of a winter through, and you ain't never seen the likes of Louise. Have you seen her uptown, short skirt, head down, looking over every guy? A young heart a thumping, you sure do something to the Levi's.
Okay, so I don't have a huge amount of detail about this guy. He recorded 8 albums between 67 and 77. His final charting single, apparently, was a cover in 1981 of the ABBA song SOS. But on this album features, right, that's why, yeah, the guitarist Lloyd Green, whose name I did recognise, an American steel guitarist. He's done tons of session work over the years for the Byrds, Johnny Cash, the Monkees, Paul McCartney, Charlie Pride, Bob Dylan. So yeah, some really nice guitar playing on this record, and again a very nice sort of moody cover. Enjoyed that one. Okay, the next one is a British country guy by the name of Jed Ford. This is the Country Syndicate with a very fetching cover, and it says in this album, Jed Ford is supported by the Country Syndicate, and there's a photograph of Jed Ford with Gordon Smith on the back. I've not found out too much about this guy, but it does come with a rather fetching inner. And it says on the back, BBC's Terry Wogan Show, which was a show in the 1980s fronted by a very popular kind of family broadcaster. You know, it was a real kind of, you know, tea time favourite, and I would imagine that was the kind of towering height of Jed's career. Whilst trying to research him, it's not a bad record. This, it's, you know, it's pretty good. It's all right. It's not great, but it's sort of okay. While researching him, I actually ended up, this is on Black Phillips, I ended up getting in touch with him. I looked on Facebook and I found a Jed Ford, and it looked like he was a musician, so I sent him a message. I asked him if this was him. I sent him a photograph, and he sent me a message back saying yes it is, and would I like to come to a gig and a private dinner function somewhere that he's doing. So I haven't responded to that yet, but that was quite an interesting little bit of communication I had with Jed. So nice cover, it's an okay record, and yeah, I think Jed now wants to be my friend. This was a really nice record. This is the Best of the Country Duets, featuring Bobby Bear and Skeeter Davis together, Jimmy Dean and Dottie West, Connie Smith and Nat Stuckley, Jim Reeves and Dottie West, Porter Wagoner, which is a name I know from Headley's channel, and Dolly Parton, Waylon Jennings and Jesse Coulter. I don't know all the names, but I know some of them. Yeah, Porter Wagoner, Archie Campbell and Loren Mann. I should say as well that all these records were in really, really good condition, you know, given, you know, I suspect they've all come from one person, you know, a real kind of country fan, and they've, you know, really looked after their records, and they've got things which are a little bit off the beaten track, and then they probably died. So yeah, that's a really, really nice record. Country Gold Volume 1, with a nice cover featuring a glass of whiskey. This is quite a nice label. What is that label? I've not actually done my research at all with this one, I apologise. SSS, a plantation recording. Again, it's an English record, but it contains all sorts of things I just don't know at all. Poverty by Paul Martin. This album represents most aspects of mainstream country music of the type recorded in Nashville during the late 1960s. Most of this music does seem to have a kind of Nashville thing going on, rather than a sort of, just let me get this right, Bakersfield? I'm such a novice when it comes to country music, but my understanding is, you know, Nashville is the more traditional side of country, and the Bakersfield thing, Merle Haggard and so on, was more of a kind of, you know, breakaway Californian alt country thing. I really hope I haven't just belched out a load of incorrect garbage, but anyway, yeah, most of these records seem to be of a Nashville flavour. And the final one, which I couldn't leave there, and I don't have any of these records, but apparently other people on the VC do have them. I think Graham Watson mentioned that he had at least one. This is Hits for a Truck Driving Man, featuring King of the Road, great song called Convoy, and yeah, featuring Big Dave and the Tennessee Tailgaters. I didn't know anything about this series, but apparently there were lots of them, and now I have one of them. So there we go. So that is my country haul. I hope you enjoyed it. I have been back to the place again one more time, and this time I didn't get anything. There were a few other things that I'd left behind before in a similar vein, but you know, I'm really, really short of storage space, and I figured, well, this is a fair bit of country music now for me to listen to and enjoy. I'm not going to start kind of, you know, stockpiling the stuff. This will do for now, and you know, hopefully further down the line, maybe I can explore again a little bit. But certainly a really good thing to, you know, to find a big splurge of records of a genre that you enjoy, but which you don't know a huge amount about, and which you don't have a great deal of in your collection, and then all of a sudden you feel like, oh right, you know, I've got the seeds of a collection here now. So hooray! Right, folks, I hope you're all well. I hope you're all doing fine. Anyway, okay, enough rambling from me. I'll see you soon. Take care. Bye-bye.